This time, we're diving deeper into the full story of the Ajin Guild arc in solo leveling, breaking it down chapter by chapter with all the juicy details. Get ready for a complete look at Jin Wu's epic journey from start to finish through this major incident. So, set aside about 20 minutes, relax, and stick around till the end. Because, as always, there are tons of awesome moments you definitely don't want to miss. In a world where hunters risk their lives to keep humanity safe from monstrous invaders, one man rises above them all, Sung Jin Wu, the Shadow Monarch. His story, however, doesn't start with triumph, but with chaos. Across fractured continents and collapsing dungeons, new forces begin to stir. Ancient beings like Hyaki searching for fragments of light, rulers waging wars in the shadows, and nations trembling at the rise of a power they can't control. Amid this storm, Jin Wu stands alone, a man once ordinary, now a living legend who commands death itself. From the blood-soaked battlefields of Jeju to the creation of his own guild, every step he takes reshapes the balance between light and darkness. Yet, beyond the glory and power, something far more human lingers in the depths of his journey. Loyalty, love, and the price of becoming more than just a man. The story begins in chapter 111, right in the middle of a massive dungeon hunt. Here, Hunter James crosses paths once again with the mysterious old man from Jeju Island. The same old man Hyaki who once appeared alongside that muscular guy. This time, Hyaki is searching for something called the Fragment of the Brightest Light. Unfortunately, his quest goes off course when he accidentally wanders into the wrong dungeon. While he's still lost and trying to figure things out, a man named Ahjin suddenly emerges from a strange portal. Ahjin tells Hyaki that the Shadow Monarch is currently in a place known as the Eastern Little Lands. He also explains that the rulers are waging war against Ligia in the south, and since he has no interest in getting involved with the Shadow Monarch's affairs, he plans to stay out of it entirely. But before their conversation can go any further, Jin Wu's father suddenly appears and launches an attack, mistakenly thinking they're targeting Korea's territory. Meanwhile, Jin Wu himself has entered a red gate all alone. The moment he steps inside, he's immediately confronted by the dungeon boss, a prideful creature oozing with arrogance. Without hesitation, Jin Wu summons his shadow army, and one by one his shadow soldiers rise, bringing with them the corpses of monsters they've slain. One even tosses the severed head of an enemy commander at the dungeon boss's feet, sending chills down the creature's spine. Without a word, Jin Wu commands his army to wipe out every last foe in sight. Once the battle is over, Jin Wu attempts to extract some information from the dungeon boss, but it turns out to be a dead end. The creature knows nothing of value. Not long after, Jin Wu decides to inspect a mysterious key he had obtained from a random box. All the conditions have been met, and the truth behind the key is finally revealed. It serves as an entry to the Shartnon Temple, a hidden area within a dungeon that will appear in exactly 417 hours, 6 minutes and 52 seconds. It's a clear sign that an even greater trial is now waiting just ahead. Now moving into chapter 112, the story starts taking on a fresh tone. Amid the chaotic world of hunters, Jinho truly shines as Jin Wu's right-hand man. He's not just a Vice Guild master on paper, he's the one handling everything behind the scenes: administration, permits, and even the endless stream of gossip from nosy netizens obsessed with Jin Wu. His dedication is on another level, so much that even Jin Wu admits the guild probably wouldn't have survived without him. But in the middle of all that busyness, Jin Wu suddenly appears right in front of Jinho out of nowhere, nearly giving the poor guy a heart attack. What really makes Jinho's day, though, is when Jin Wu casually hands him a massive bag full of magic crystals from his Red Gate raid. The amount inside is enough to keep the entire guild staff living comfortably for years. Just like that, all of Jinho's worries about salaries, expenses, and logistics vanish instantly. But their lighthearted talk about finances ends up leading to another problem: the guild's membership requirement. They suddenly realize that to be officially recognized, a guild needs at least 3 members: a master, a vice, and 1 regular member. To make things even funnier, they still haven't decided on a guild name. While they're scratching their heads over finding a 3rd member, Hunter Cha Hae-in suddenly walks in. With a calm yet determined look, she declares that she wants to join. The atmosphere instantly turns warm and full of hope, until Jin Wu casually drops the guild name he's chosen: Solo Guild. The entire room freezes. Cha Hae-in stares blankly, confused, while Jin Ho nearly explodes in protest. The name is just too Jin Wu. It doesn't sound like an organization at all, more like a personal statement that he doesn't need anyone else. Yet behind that awkward conversation, Jin Wu begins to sense something off. From Cha Hae-in's breathing and heartbeat, he can tell something isn't right. His instincts tell him her reason for being there isn't just about joining a guild. On her side, Cha Hae-in struggles to contain feelings she's been hiding for so long. Ever since their first encounter, she noticed something different about Jin Wu. His scent was pure, clean, and strangely comforting. Those feelings only grew stronger after the Jeju Island incident, when Jin Wu saved her life. She wants to say the simple truth, that she wishes to stay by his side, but the words just won't come out. Ironically, Jin Wu, the man known for his sharp intuition, is completely clueless when it comes to matters of the heart. With his usual calm, unreadable face, he simply tells Cha Hae-in that if she really wants to join, she'll have to take the test first. The room turns awkward instantly. Cha Hae-in forces a stiff smile. Jin Ho scratches his head in disbelief, and Jin Wu remains as composed as ever. But who would have thought that this simple, awkward moment would mark the beginning of a new chapter between the 3 of them? One that would change their bond forever. From this point on, the world of hunters would become far more interesting than just slaying monsters and clearing dungeons. Continuing the story in Chapter 113, things start heating up when Hunter Cha confidently accepts Sung Jin Woo's challenge. She refuses to be underestimated, so the moment he asks, she agrees without hesitation. Their match is set to take place in the old S-rank training arena, the same spot where elite hunters once honed their skills. Before the fight begins, Jin Wu decides to test his shadow exchange ability. He wants to know if he can teleport with someone else. To his satisfaction, it works perfectly. Once they arrive at the arena, Hunter Cha heads straight to the armory, using her personal access card to retrieve a sword rather than bringing one from outside. She's clearly prepared for a serious fight. Jin Wu then summons Igris as her first opponent, but the instant he feels Hunter Cha's intense aura, he realizes this battle won't be easy. To balance things out, he equips Igris with the longsword of the Demon King Baran, a weapon brimming with immense power. As soon as the duel starts, Igris launches a series of swift and deadly strikes, yet Hunter Cha dodges every one of them with unbelievable speed and counters effortlessly, even with a standard weapon. When Igris unleashes his full magical power, she still manages to withstand the pressure, turning their fight into a breathtaking clash of strength and skill. Meanwhile, in the control room, Mr. Go watches everything unfold through the security cameras, caught between amusement and shock. He even lets out a small laugh when the ground slightly trembles from the overwhelming power of their battle, but quickly pretends he didn't notice. When the first match finally ends, Hunter Cha emerges victorious. But instead of stopping there, she reminds Jin Wu of his promise. She wants to face his strongest shadow soldier. Jin Wu warns her that the next opponent is far more dangerous, but she doesn't back down. She already knows who's coming: the Ant King from Jeju Island, Beru. With a faint smile, Jin Wu calls Beru forth from his shadow and glances at Hunter Cha one last time, asking, "Are you really ready for this?" Now we're stepping into Chapter 114, and things are getting pretty tense right from the start. Before the battle even begins, Jin Wu gives Beru a very clear order: defeat Hunter Cha, but don't hurt her. Baru, ever the loyal shadow, agrees without hesitation and gets ready for combat. However, just as he's about to unleash his deadly claws, Jin Wu immediately stops him. Following his master's command, Baru decides not to attack directly. Instead, he simply dodges every one of Hunter Cha's strikes. Jin Wu does this intentionally, to show the massive gap in power between them, without causing any real harm. But Hunter Cha's stubborn nature won't let her back down that easily. She keeps pushing, striking again and again, forcing Baru into a corner where his primal instincts as a predator begin to resurface. When Cha finally uses her special technique, Baru's innate nature as the Ant King almost takes over completely. His killing intent flares up, and for a moment, he nearly loses control. Thankfully, Jin Wu steps in just in time, stopping what could have turned into a disaster. Realizing his mistake, Baru immediately kneels down, apologizing sincerely like a servant before his king. Meanwhile, Jin Wu turns to Hunter Cha and scolds her for pushing herself too far during the match. But through that intense moment, something deeper happens. Hunter Cha's true feelings, which she's been holding back all this time, finally come to light, making the entire scene feel raw, emotional, and undeniably real. Then comes Chapter 115, and things start getting intense at the U.S. Hunter Bureau headquarters. The atmosphere turns heavy when Mr. David Brennan summons Agent Connor and Madam Sellner for an urgent meeting about something shocking related to Sung Jin Wu. Normally, a hunter's power comes from an external entity that manifests as a light within them. But strangely, Jin Wu shows no such sign at all. This discovery leads to one chilling conclusion. His power isn't granted by something else. It's self-created. He didn't receive strength, he became it. David then brings Connor down into the heavily secured underground vault beneath the Bureau. There he recounts a dark chapter in history. The massive tragedy that struck years ago when an S-rank gate exploded and devastated the western United States. From that catastrophe emerged 5 legendary hunters who later became known as the National-Level Hunters, the ones who managed to slay the infamous fire dragon Kamish. Inside that underground vault now rests Kamish's preserved corpse, along with a mysterious runestone, the only surviving witness of that epic battle. Meanwhile, back in Korea, Sung Jin Wu starts noticing strange changes in his body, and even in his face after the double dungeon incident. Curious and slightly worried, he asks his sister Jina if he still looks the same. Their lighthearted conversation, filled with sibling teasing, unexpectedly leads to the birth of Ajin Guild, a guild name formed from both their names, revealing Jin Wu's softer side hidden beneath his terrifying strength. Elsewhere, Hae-in can't shake off the confusion and awe she feels after her duel with Jin Wu. The lingering presence of Min Byung-gu even appears before her, warning that Jin Wu must be cautious with the immense power he wields. The tension keeps rising, and it feels like the world itself is bracing for something far greater. A storm far beyond mere hunter battles. Chapter 1. 116 opens with a tense atmosphere inside the Nike Guild headquarters. They're stuck in a tough dilemma. A newly appeared A-rank gate has shown up in their territory. If they ignore it, a bigger guild like Madong will swoop in and take control. But if they charge in recklessly, they risk losing a lot of their members, since they don't have a single S-rank hunter among them. The situation turns heated in the conference room, until one of the staff throws out a wild idea. Ask Sung Jin Wu for help. Not only would that give them a higher chance of success, but it could also be a golden opportunity to show the world that Nike Guild has strong connections. Meanwhile, Jin Wu is busy working on his own plans. He's decided to go with the name Ajin Guild instead of Solo Guild, since it sounds more official and professional. But that doesn't mean he's recruiting people carelessly. Jin Wu wants a real tight-knit team, not just numbers on paper. He's only looking for people he can trust, ones not tied down by other guild obligations. Luckily, he already knows a few suitable candidates. However, his plan takes an unexpected pause when Park Jong-soo suddenly shows up, looking worried, alongside members of the Nike Guild, asking for Jin Wu's help to handle the dangerous gate in Busan. Jin Wu listens carefully as they explain the situation. After a short negotiation and agreeing on a fair split of the loot, he finally accepts the request. The next day, Nike Guild's hunters are already assembled at the gate site, fully prepared. Jin Wu arrives just minutes before the raid begins, using his shadow exchange skill to teleport directly there. The moment he appears, everyone's attention shifts to him. His calm aura alone seems to reassure the entire team. But elsewhere in the city, something unexpected is stirring. A forgotten gate, hidden inside an empty classroom that hadn't been inspected for an entire semester, begins to show signs of a dungeon break. The hunter world is once again on edge, and Jin Wu's latest move is only the beginning of a much greater storm that's about to unfold. Chapter 117 opens with a chilling scene. A normal school suddenly turning into a battlefield. A dungeon that was supposed to stay sealed had cracked open right in the middle of a classroom, creating a rift that allowed a swarm of orcs to pour into the human world. After being trapped for so long, the moment they tasted fresh air, their primal instincts kicked in. But unlike wild monsters, these orcs weren't just savages. They had discipline and hierarchy. As soon as they emerged from the portal, they moved in an organized fashion, splitting up and heading straight toward their detected targets: humans. Meanwhile, Jin Wu was on a raid mission with the Hunter Guild Nike. This time he wasn't leading the charge. His role was to act as a protector. It was a strange position for someone of his strength, and a few team members even underestimated him, thinking they didn't need a bodyguard. Still, Jin Wu didn't mind their doubts. Orders were orders, and the mission had to proceed as planned. But elsewhere, things were spiraling out of control. A terrified student burst into the teacher's office, screaming that monsters had appeared and were slaughtering his classmates. The report quickly reached the Hunter Association, and they immediately realized what they were dealing with. Not just any creature, but orcs from a newly opened dungeon. Police were dispatched. Alarms went off across the city, but it was too late. The orcs had already surrounded the school, sealing every exit and beginning their ruthless massacre. Among the terrified students trapped inside that school was one name that would make Jin Wu's blood boil if he knew. His sister, Jina. With no way out, no backup in sight, the only sounds echoing through the halls were desperate screams and the heavy footsteps of orcs closing in. Chapter 118 marks a truly thrilling turning point. Jina starts to show incredible growth. Though she hasn't officially become a hunter yet, her aura already feels like that of someone awakened. With newfound confidence, she tells Yi-Song she wants to try fighting one of the orcs herself. But before she can make a move, everything shifts in an instant. The orcs, who initially had their eyes on Song 1 as their prey, suddenly changed targets after sensing the overwhelming mana radiating from Jina. Just as they charge toward her, 3 shadow soldiers appear, their intimidating presence freezing the orcs in place. Led by one of Jin Wu's elite subordinates, the shadows obliterate the enemy within seconds, swift, efficient, and merciless. Meanwhile, on the other side of the dungeon, Mr. Jongso's team is locked in a brutal fight against a gigantic 2-headed tomb guardian. The clash is intense, but through teamwork and quick strategy, they manage to bring the monster down. However, their victory comes with a chilling realization. Creatures like that usually only appear in undead-type dungeons. Fear begins to creep in as they imagine what else might be lurking ahead. But confusion quickly replaces it when the undead army that should have attacked suddenly retreats instead, as if terrified of something unseen. The high-rank dungeon that was supposed to be deadly starts to feel eerily subdued, which only makes the situation even more suspicious. Far away, Jin Wu senses a disturbance among his shadow troops, the ones assigned to protect Jina. Without hesitation, he requests to leave his current mission and entrusts command to Baru. Since his shadow exchange skill is still on cooldown, Jin Wu decides to sprint through the dungeon manually at full speed. But what he witnesses along the way sends chills down his spine. Every undead monster he passes suddenly kneels, parting the path for him. recognizing him as their true ruler, the Shadow Monarch. Chapter 1. 119 opens with chaos breaking loose across the school grounds. The 3 High Orc shadows assigned to protect Jina are locked in a desperate battle, holding off waves of green orcs attacking from every direction. They manage to push back the first assault, but the danger is far from over. More enemies lurk in the shadows, waiting for their turn to strike. Then, the situation takes a darker turn when the dungeon that caused all this havoc finally opens completely. From its depths emerges Groktar, the orc leader whose power dwarfs that of his subordinates. The moment his eyes fall on the 3 High Orcs standing beside humans, fury ignites within him. Seeing his kind serve a human is an insult he cannot forgive. Without hesitation, he roars and charges straight at them. Meanwhile, deep inside the dungeon, the scene is equally intense. Jin Wu's shadow ants are wreaking havoc, mercilessly hunting down hunters left and right. Park Jongso, still trapped within, is visibly anxious. Not only because of the monsters, but also because he's already dreading the chaos that will follow once the media learns of this disaster. His thoughts are abruptly interrupted when Baru suddenly appears, tossing a freshly severed enemy head at his feet with chilling nonchalance. The sight alone freezes every hunter in the area. No one dares to move or speak. Realizing the situation has spiraled beyond control, Park Jong-so decides to focus solely on survival, unaware that some of his subordinates have already begun acting recklessly on their own. Back at the school, the battle grows fiercer by the second. Groktar's raw strength proves overwhelming. He crushes all 3 High Orc shadows in quick succession. But since they are shadows, their bodies simply reform and rise again, unfazed by death or pain. This unnatural sight enrages Groktar even further. Then he hears a whisper echo inside his head, a sinister voice urging him to kill every human. The command stirs suspicion in him. Someone must be controlling these undead creatures. Convinced that Jina is the source of the spell, Groktar orders his army to slaughter everyone in sight, with Jina as the primary target. When he finally reaches her, Groktar seizes Jina by the head, his claws tightening with lethal intent. But before he can finish her, the air shifts. An overwhelming darkness floods the area, thick and suffocating. Chapter 120 marks a huge emotional turning point for Jin Wu. The moment he sees the injury on Jina's face, his rage explodes uncontrollably. Without hesitation, he commands Igris and his shadow soldiers to guard Jina and evacuate the students to safety. There's no mercy this time. Jin Wu wants revenge with his own hands. Once everyone is secured, he dives straight into the fight, tearing through the orcs with nothing but his bare fists, leaving Groktar, their leader, regretting the day he ever left the dungeon. The school hallways are littered with human corpses, and the sight only fuels Jin Wu's fury. He demands to know why the orcs slaughtered humans so mercilessly. Was it instinct, or were they following orders to target him specifically? But once he hears their answer, Jin Wu decides words are useless. With one swift motion, he executes Groktar using the Demon King Baran's blade, delivering punishment that perfectly matches the brutality of their crimes. Meanwhile, inside the dungeon, chaos unfolds in another corner. A shadow ant engages in a fierce battle against one of Nike Guild's arrogant hunters, a man flaunting his wealth through a luxurious cloak. The fight grows so intense that even a healer ends up injured. That's when Baru steps in, his presence silencing the battlefield. Soon after, when the hunters reach the boss's chamber, they come face to face with an archlick, an undead nightmare infamous for annihilating the entire Huangrong Guild on its own. As waves of undead keep resurrecting and the hunter's magic barriers begin to crumble, Baru unleashes his full power. Channeling the might of the Shadow Monarch, he charges at the boss in a storm of claws and fury, turning the clash into a savage spectacle that leaves everyone stunned and breathless. The most thrilling part of Chapter 121 kicks off with a deadly duel between Baru and a powerful monster named Orlick. In one lightning-fast motion, Barely visible to the naked eye, Baru pierced through his opponent's vital point, instantly killing Orlik and making his entire body disintegrate into nothingness. That single moment caused the entire dungeon to collapse with the death of its boss, leaving the hunters from the Ajin Guild frozen in disbelief. They had just witnessed something unbelievable. The monster once thought to be unbeatable was effortlessly destroyed by one of Jin Wu's shadow soldiers. With just one strike from the creature formerly known as Park Jong-so, everything ended in silence, leaving behind an air of awe and tension that words could hardly describe. Despite the overwhelming victory, Jin Wu stayed true to the rules. Even though he had enough power to clear dungeons on his own, the Hunter Association still required a minimum number of members for every official raid. That's why teaming up with the Ajin Guild was the logical choice. Not only because of their recognized strength, but also as Jin Wu's way of maintaining balance within the system. Meanwhile, things in the real world were getting worse. After the tragic dungeon break at the school, hundreds of students were rescued, but many lives were lost as well. Mr. Go later reported to Jin Wu that over the past 6 months, gate appearances across Seoul had drastically increased, along with the rising number of people experiencing awakening. It was as if nature itself was trying to create a mysterious balance between new threats and new power. On top of that, reports from major countries began flooding in. Many nations were trying to lure Jin Wu to their side, fearing that Korea might lose him the same way it once lost the legendary hunter Hwang Dong-so to another country. Chapter 122 opens with a grand sight. A massive gate standing tall before Jin-ho, leaving him completely speechless. Around him, reporters crowded in excitement, ready to capture the Ajin Guild's first ever assault on an A-rank gate. The scene became even livelier when one curious journalist brought up rumors about Jin Wu's relationship with a certain famous actress who had posted a selfie with him online. Jin Wu ignored the question, remaining laser-focused as he summoned his elite shadow army. Warriors powerful enough to handle missions this dangerous. The moment they stepped inside, the atmosphere shifted dramatically. What awaited was nothing short of a massacre. Agent Jinkle, who was monitoring from headquarters, could only gape in disbelief at the blinding speed and overwhelming power of Jin Wu's shadows as they wiped out waves of A-rank monsters, including an intense duel that ended with a clean decapitation in the blink of an eye. When the battle was nearly over and only the dungeon boss remained, Jin Wu withdrew most of his shadows. He wanted to test his own strength, to make sure he didn't become overly reliant on his army. The fight was fierce, but Jin Wu completely dominated, gaining another level up and a new exclusive skill upgrade. The most jaw-dropping moment came when he effortlessly shattered the boss's dragon scale shield with his twin daggers, then resurrected the fallen creature's spirit into his newest shadow soldier, naming it Jima. Outside the dungeon, the waiting reporters were stunned when a massive shadow figure emerged from the gate. It was Tusk, carrying the dungeon boss's corpse on his back like a victory trophy. The A-rank gate raid had been completed at an unbelievable pace, leaving Agent Jinkul almost speechless at the display of Jin Wu's might. When the report reached Mr. Go, he could only give a wry smile as he realized one thing: calling Sung Jin Wu a one-man raid was an understatement. The more fitting title was One-Man Guild, because Jin Wu wasn't just capable of conquering dungeons alone, he had the power to conquer the world. But before that triumph could fully sink in, the skies above Shinjuku, Japan suddenly cracked open, revealing a massive gate forming in the heavens, signaling the beginning of a far greater threat than ever before. Wow, thanks amazing, bro! Thank you so much for sticking with the story till the end. If you have any questions, feel free to write them down in the comment section below. Thanks again for watching, and see you in the next one.